Good morning. Thank you very much. I want to acknowledge History Department Chairman David Myers, a good friend and a true scholar, esteemed faculty, distinguished guests, beloved family and friends of the graduates, and the great UCLA class of 2011. It is an honor to be here and to share this momentous day with you as a former history major, a proud graduate, and a Bruin always. A few weeks ago, my daughter Dorothy graduated from a university on the East Coast whose primary color is orange, not blue and gold. And apart from the pride and many emotional aspects of that occasion for me, there was a very good lesson in it as I listened carefully, knowing that I was going to be speaking to all of you today. Dorothy must have texted me a dozen times during the ceremony, not to describe the emotions of the occasion, not to expound on the meaning of this great rite of passage, and not to thank me for my part in guiding her to educated adulthood, but instead to complain about how completely lame the commencement speaker was. That being said, despite my instinct thereupon to run and hide, I'm happy for the privilege of your inviting me here today to take a shot at doing better than that dude. Graduates, yes, you are. You sit here at a climactic moment, full of memories, some good, some bad, certainly never a dull moment, and now filled with possibilities. Later today, when the ceremonies are over, the mortarboards are thrown, the robes are off, the kegs of ale are drained, and the diplomas are moved into their permanent home at the back of your mother's attic, a simple question will form in the minds of all of you as you sober up. 2 words: now what? In a world of infinite decisions and forks in the road at every step, what path will each of you take from here? Well, one thing is for sure. The good news is that you've already made the best decision of your lives. 4 years ago, you made a choice. There was a lower path and a higher path, a road to mediocrity and a road to greatness, and you all stepped up. You elected to challenge yourselves, to enter the company of stars and scholars, rather than to waddle forward amongst the slackers and slobs. And that pivotal decision to become a Bruin of UCLA, rather than a sorry Trojan of USC, demonstrates a profound wisdom that will continue to reward you as it did me for the rest of your lives. I do want to congratulate you on that momentous decision you made 4 years ago, because we are living in a time where the choice to go to college is braver and more controversial than at any time in recent memory, particularly at the School of History, where memory and what we do with it are such an important component. As you may be aware, and as many of us are finding surprising, there is a growing movement of high school graduates from around the world who actually oppose the decision to go to college. Those who are questioning the value of a university education and who are actively seeking to steer potential college students away. You know that the generation that is emerging right behind you is an open debate about the choice of a college education or not. The co-founder of PayPal is offering high school graduates $100,000 each not to go to college, and instead to focus on their entrepreneurial efforts in the working world. There is an organization called Uncollege, which is pushing young people to work without university education and instead to network and find jobs through the web. Even I am producing a movie called Spanking Shakespeare that explores the movement as it tells the story of a high school senior, plagued from birth because his parents actually named him Shakespeare Shapiro. He is now saddled with having to accumulate enough R-rated life experience to complete his final high school journalism project, a memoir, if you could believe it, of his 17 years, and who in the process questions whether to go to college or not. When sitting with his college guidance counselor and filling out his essay on his applications, young Shakespeare, who unlike his namesake is no brilliant writer, realizes that he is still 100 days from his 18th birthday. He cannot legally change his name, and he feels that signing the essay Shakespeare will cause him another 4 years of embarrassment that he is simply not prepared for. In an impetuous moment, he tears up the applications and he screams out with great relief to the advisor, F college, not realizing in the moment that his arch enemy who's sitting in the room is getting this on his iPhone, and young Mr. Shakespeare, who actually wanted to go to college, soon finds himself on YouTube as a legendary modern folk hero and the inadvertent leader of the fuck college movement. Now, granted, some of this might sound pretty good. I bet we would all like to be bribed with $100,000 to avoid going to class. My sons are sitting over there, trust me. But what I know, and what you now know as graduates of this great university, is that the education, the enrichment, and the deep human investment of a college education empower your life in a way that no quick fix ever could. Graduates, dream big dreams. Be proud of yourselves for each of your individual and communal experiences. I personally have never met a college graduate who years later did not look back with two clear feelings. One, that high school sucked, and the other, that college was the greatest time of their lives. Times are tough on a historic level. Entering and ascending in the working world is more of an uphill battle than ever. In spite of that, don't lose faith. Find what you love and love what you do. Seek to be the best version of yourselves. Take your time. Be curious. Use your imagination. You are just at the beginning of making choices that for many of you will be the crucial direction for the rest of your lives. This summer, an estimated 85% of college graduates will have to move back home with their parents at the start of their independent lives. Most of you will have the time to think about the journey ahead. Coming out of school is both incredibly liberating and equally scary. When you left that very same parent's home to go to college, you were leaving the nest. Now it's very likely that you are getting a short-term lease on another dorm at home that I'm not sure most of you are quite as welcome at as when you last left. So again, I ask you, now what? Take the time to make good choices. The fact is that according to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, nearly 50% of Americans are underemployed after their college education. In other words, they're either going to go jobless, work part-time, or put in hours at bartending and waitering gigs that have nothing to do with their college education or interests or anything that they really studied except at fraternity and sorority parties. Unfortunately, it's wake up, grow up time. Your class of 2011 is saddled with historic levels of debt, an average of over $27,000 for each graduate who took student loans. Mom and dad don't want to figure that out for you anymore. Now what? Given such conditions, it is inevitable that people are questioning whether the time, effort, and expense of their university education are worth it. The grown-up world is a difficult place right now, and it's no wonder. We are living in a time of serious economic recession, of multiple wars, of industrial collapse, of devastating tsunamis, earthquakes, tornadoes, wildfires, and social and political upheaval around the world. Feel good in knowing that the truth is that history repeats itself. History, as you know and have learned, is often not pretty. But it is people who make history, not history that make people. And people are capable of creating lasting change for the better. A few years ago, I produced a movie called 300, in which a small group of earnest graduates, after years of training, set out to confront a merciless land and vast armies of bloodthirsty enemies hell-bent on destruction. Little did you know that their story is the same as yours. They are you. The difference is that the Spartans had a theory called beautiful death. My suggestion is that you Bruins have a theory called beautiful life. All of which makes what I'm about to tell you sound pretty strange. It is my conviction that there could not be a more promising time for you to set out in the real world than these times. Now what is that it is the time for your graduating generation to thrive. Your turn to make and change the course of history starts now. Each and every one of you has the capacity to turn your dreams into reality. It may sound trite, but nothing worthwhile comes easy. As the British writer Thomas Carlyle said, every noble work is at first impossible. And Lowell said, not failure, but low aim is a crime. A smooth sea never made a skillful sailor. Let me put this even more directly. Easy achievements in easy times will not help you much. It was Abraham Lincoln who said, I will study and get ready, and perhaps my chance will come. Bruins, be ready. I am honored and flattered to have been invited to speak to you today. I am privileged to have studied at the Department of History at UCLA. It was here that I prepared myself for my professional journey, one that took me from working in the mailroom at Warner Brothers to serving as president of Warner Brothers to chairman of Columbia TriStar Motion Picture Companies and ultimately to forming my own production company. I have to tell you that the key to my journey has not been the ease of my triumphs, but rather their difficulty. I'm lucky to have had the uphill battle that I've had, and given the current conditions of the working world, so will most of you. Be prepared. Now what? I'm also lucky that I made friends in college who became my teammates on my journey. You know that college is not just about information, but it's about learning how to coexist in a world where no one stands alone. And the most successful people, as throughout all of history, have the best teammates. One of the greatest Bruin heroes, the legendary coach John Wooden, in every aspect of his teaching and his pyramid of success, was the greatest champion and master of the concept of getting the most out of your abilities, moving forward under difficult circumstances, having the right teammates to pass the ball to, and counting on the fact that you need to be ready when the ball comes back to you. For one thing, you're likely to have to work for peanuts at first. I had to work for pies, literally, lemon pies. Just as an aside, when I first started in New York City, working for two very esteemed producers, they would run me around town doing every terrible thing that a gopher could possibly do in order to have the opportunity to be in the esteemed motion picture industry. And I noticed that they never paid me. Eventually, I was starving. And that was their game plan. One day, these two producers took me out on the street, and I said, we have to have a heart-to-heart talk, boss. And they said to me, what do you need? I said, money. We were walking past a bakery. They said, forget money, how about a lemon pie? I ate the pie, but I learned a good lesson. There will likely be times that you don't feel you're being heard or your growing expertise in your field is not valuable. For me, that came early. When I was a young man, the first movie I worked on was a legendary movie called Papillon. I was in Jamaica for 6 months with the greatest movie star, Steve McQueen, and the other legendary star, Dustin Hoffman. The film was directed by the great director, Franklin J. Schaffner. He had just won the Oscar for Patton. He was very well known to be a man of few words, but a really tough, macho guy who smoked big Churchill cigars. It was 100 degrees and 100 humidity every day we were shooting in Jamaica. And all I ever wanted to do was to prove my worth to Mr. Schaffner, and he never acknowledged me. And finally, 6 weeks into the shooting, after a long week, on a Saturday afternoon, he came over to me and approached me, and he didn't say anything, he just gave me one of these. And I walked over, he had his cigar in his mouth, and he blew the cigar right in my face, and he said to me, "Well, kid, what do you think?" And I thought, here's my big moment. Either I'm going to projectile vomit, or I'm going to take it and tell him what I thought. And I stood there for what seemed like an eternity. And I told him exactly what I thought, ba-ba, 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 ba-ba. And he kept looking at me, and finally, he blew the cigar smoke in my face, and he said, "What?" And I realized right then, if you can't take it, you better figure out a different road to go down. Don't expect others to become you. You have to find your own path. You have to have determination. You have to be able to take it. Nothing will be made easy for you in the working world of 2011 and beyond. The best thing about that is that it will force you to be focused and cause you to be an original, require you to stand out and be noticed. Now more than ever, you will survive and thrive, not by following any preordained path, but by carving your own path, bravely and uniquely. You will need to be skillful. You will need to be resourceful. You will need to be thoughtful. You will need to get lucky. But more than anything else, you will need to be inventive and imaginative every step of the way. The English writer Samuel Butler said, "Life is like music. It must be composed by ear, feeling, and instinct, not by rule." That has never been truer than today. It's a lesson I've learned many times in the world of entertainment. My most successful efforts, time and again, have not been the result of providing comfortable, familiar, or traditional films, but rather the result of wild creativity, bold redefinitions, and brave reimaginings by filmmakers hell-bent on originality. National Lampoon's Vacation series was our insane reinvention of the classic American family road trip. 6 years later, Batman was a dark and daring reinvention of a beloved American comic hero. Lethal Weapon was the unlikely uniting and pairing of two disparate spirits. Men in Black was a genre-bending reinvention of the Alien movie. And my upcoming movie, Immortals, which, like 300, is set against the world of Greek mythology, is a creative reimagining of the historic journey of Theseus. In each of these cases, the risks were rewarded. The ability for myself to be the advocate was supported by the people I was in business with. Be an advocate. Of course, most of you are smart enough not to try and use your history degree to become a movie producer. You will be lawyers. You will be professors. You will be government employees. Some of you will be CIA agents. Some of you will be CA agents. But many more of you will concoct your own unique journeys and careers. Regardless of your jobs to come, every one of them will require originality, now more than ever before. And I would suggest that this is what makes the working world you're entering both incredibly challenging and phenomenally opportunistic. It will require you to take the inevitable failures and setbacks and learn from them. Your goal should not be to avoid failure, but to learn to fail better, fail upwards, and most importantly, to grow as a human being as you do. Gain the respect of others and get people to pay attention to you, which means inspiration meets perspiration. Be prepared. Do not rely solely on luck. This is the age of Steve Jobs and Mark Zuckerberg, where no prior corporate track or professional training can hold a candle to the power of passionate entrepreneurial ambition. And in this historic age, nothing is impossible. Nothing, that is, except the conventional status quo. It is understandable that some people question the worth of a college education when the world requires skills like bravery, humility, and originality that seem to have little to do with classrooms and lecture halls. However, all of us here know that your time at UCLA has strengthened precisely those skills that will be most urgently called upon as you set forth in your careers. The past 4 years, and for some of you 5 or 6 years, have made you braver and hopefully wiser. At times they've made you humble, and certainly they've made you original. And that originality and passion, more than anything else, is what I applaud and encourage in every one of you today. As students of history, you all know that the world's most daunting challenges have always produced the world's greatest achievements. I congratulate you all before you lay great challenges, and therefore the chance for bravery, originality, and great, even heroic, or shall I say historic, achievement. I have full confidence that you will seize the opportunity and that you Bruins will have, as you do so, the time of your lives. Life is fast. All aboard. Remember that tomorrow, today, will be history. I implore you to savor this moment. It has been said that history was written by the survivors and the winners. You are all Bruins, so go win, and your history will be written. 5 words my younger son told me the other night: be good or be great. And thank you very much.